So the Nova Kakhovka Dam, which is the dam that was built in 1956 in Ukraine, was bombed today by the Russians, leading to a flood of water pouring down into the valley below. Now, markets have reacted to this by coming off slightly because they're worried about an escalation in the war between Russia and Ukraine. Remember last year in February 2022 when Russia was amassing troops and equipment on the border with Ukraine. I did state clearly that Russia was going to invade, even though most people said that was absolutely rubbish, it was just saber rattling. They did invade. So what I'm going to say now is that they're going to continue with that escalation, pushing it up to levels that you've not seen previously. Russia is not going to withdraw from Ukraine, and this dam, or this dam busting, is just one of the events that's going to impact markets, and there will be more events going forward. Now, also what's interesting to be aware is that moving on to slightly onto markets, you've got the Apple VR, the virtual reality goggles. Now that has been downgraded. Apple's been downgraded in the US by analysts, and markets are well overvalued, far too overvalued. Apple now is at an all-time high, and if you look at the valuations of the PEs, they're massively out of sync of what fundamentally these shares should be. Now, the rally in the market is being very, very narrow. It's based on the Nasdaq and the IT sector. It's not a broad-based rally. So all the other services are not participating in this rally. For example, is retail, utilities. You've got service industry, car industry, are not participating in this very narrow-based Nasdaq-driven rally. Remember, the Nasdaq is made up of 25% of the Nasdaq is made up of Apple and Microsoft, and as those shares move higher and become super overvalued, then obviously that percentage of the Nasdaq that they're holding on, impacting on, will be increased. So be aware of that and have that in consideration. So I am expecting a major correction when it comes to the Nasdaq or the high-tech sector or US markets overall. There's not much is going to stop that correction, but at the moment there's a lot of fervor and a lot of enthusiasm based on AI, ChatGPT, virtual reality, goggles, and whatever the case may be, is pushing the markets up. Metaverse has lost billions, putting all of its eggs in one basket on developing their technology till they see the next breakout, which will be the metaverse. Apple is making the same mistake. The metaverse is an empty vessel. It is not real. And as a result of not real, eventually people will realize when they're running off the end of a cliff and there's no ground below them, they'll come tumbling down. And that's what's going to happen in the whole VR sector. Virtual reality is simply not there. It's got no substance whatsoever, and it's ripe to be actually have at least a 30% drop. So overbought, overvalued, no logic whatsoever in Apple being where it is, or even Meta, Facebook being where they are, and some of the other companies also, the valuations far too high. Now, moving on to cryptos, there's a whole scandal going on in the US regarding SEC. The Securities Exchange Commission is not only investigating, it's now suing Binance, which is one of the, if not the biggest, one of the biggest exchange platforms on cryptocurrencies. They're now being sued by the SEC for a load of lies and embellishments and misleading the overall authorities. So if Binance was to go down, or the further knock in confidence on the crypto sector, then you see Bitcoin well below 25,000. Remember, I've been calling it down as a test to 25,000. It's there more or less 25,400. If it breaks down below 25,000, which it could do just on momentum, never mind any more particularly bad news, then what you're going to have is you're going to have Bitcoin go all the way down to 19,000. If Binance is going to be in trouble, then he could kiss goodbye to the crypto sector, which will put us under huge pressure, because with CBDC coming on board, the central bank digital currencies coming on board from the UK, Europe and in the US. That is going to be one vehicle that the central governments and the banks will be able to control, monitor, analyze your spending and take away all independence. In Austria, which is obviously run by the far right party, they are now demonstrating against the introductions of CBDC and they want cash to be maintained. The only way that you can actually stop this CBDC going on is to get out there and to demonstrate and make governments change track, change mind, change direction, because CBDC is not good at all for general population. Okay, it is a control mechanism and there's no way I would like that to be controlled. Cash is king. They've got to bring back, or they've got to maintain, a certain degree of independence and anonymity. You don't want to go out there and have every one of your transactions monitored, analyzed and controlled. That takes away complete individualism and independence of whatever you control over your finances. So CBDC, as a follow-on from that lawsuit taken on by the SEC on Binance, is a dangerous measure. Now, you could say the SEC is a conspiracy to bring Binance down. Okay, you could say that. It is possible. I don't think so. I've had some viewers saying that the SEC now is conspiring to bring Binance down. I would find that hard to believe and I would loathe to believe it, because if that was the case, then we're all doomed. The whole lot's a conspiracy and everything is going to completely and utterly crash and will end up being some sort of slaves to government. So hopefully that will not happen, but it is a theory and you can never discount a theory. As regards overall markets, I'm expecting markets to trend downwards, especially the Nasdaq, the Dow, the S&P and the UK FTSE trend downwards because they've been overbought, that's for sure. Regarding foreign exchange, you got a very, very weak yen. So when you look at it dollar yen, you can see dollar yen going to probably 145, and there is some Bank of Japan intervention likely to cost billions to support the yen. The yen is very weak and it's probably going to get weaker. Once Bank of Japan intervenes, then you can bet your bottom dollar or bet your bottom yen that's going to be, your dollar yen is going to go to 145, 147 pretty quickly. Oil's an interesting one. Saudi Arabia's cutting production, and that's going to continue. They want oil to be at $80, $90 a barrel. Of course, that's just based on cutting in production. If Israel attacks Iranian nuclear sites, then you see oil at $120, $130 a barrel very, very quickly. This is Mayor Valensky with Driving Markets. Anything said in this piece is, of course, an opinion only. You can share, comment, subscribe. Catch you later.